Yeah, that song we did.
I do. I remember it well.
Here we go.
Welcome to NOCLIP. I'm Chad Rellerman.
I'm JJ Artemis.
And I'm Andy Koenig.
And today we're going to be talking about Super Mario Odyssey, which was a game that was released in 2017, October 24th, not that long ago from right fucking now. And it was developed and published, of course, by Nintendo, and was released on the Switch. Also, unsurprisingly, Super Mario Odyssey is a 3D platformer, and fairly close to the collectathon platformers of the olden days of platforming.
In the long, long ago.
Many moons ago.
Many moons.
Many power moons ago. Nearly every platformer was like this. And that's actually the first impression that I got from this game was how similar I felt to playing Banjo-Kazooie when I was playing this game. Much less so than the sort of N64 era Mario and like Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, those games that this game, I think, wants to sort of go back to. I felt less like those than I did like a Banjo-Kazooie game or Donkey Kong 64, that kind of thing.
Give me your pedigree. I'm really curious about these like fine-grained platformer distinctions, because all of my real experience with Banjo-Kazooie was watching my sister play it, and because I was like a fetus, just like giggling at everything that was happening.
Yeah. Well, in the same way, 3D platformers back in the day were great things for like little children to watch because they're all very colorful and wacky. But the key thing is the de-emphasis of the importance of moons.
Wait, what?
So in Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine are kind of the pillars that this game was built on. Mm-hmm. In those games, collecting a star or a shine sprite was always that was the end of the level. That's the first, every review that I've ever seen for this game is the first thing they ever mentioned. They're like, after you pick up a moon, it doesn't kick you back to the beginning of the level. Hoorah! And then they go on to complain about the fact that you can find moons just like sitting around, which we'll get to. But in the previous games, in those two that I had already mentioned several thousand times now, you would pick up a star, you go back to the beginning, but you picked up the star after completing sort of not a long-term goal, but like that level's goal.
It was like a gauntlet of some kind.
Right.
Yeah.
You were put into a level with a discrete challenge to get that object, and then you went back to the beginning, and then you were presented with a new challenge. And the way that Odyssey does it, and the way that those collectathons that I was describing before do it, are they've just sort of scattered things throughout, and in this game we have moons, coins, the other coins.
Better coins.
Better coins. Great coins. Okay coins. And, like, throughout the level that you just sort of grab as you see them. And some of them are distinct challenges. Other ones are like little secrets. They're puzzle ones and combat ones. And they all sort of just meld together into like the vast collectibles that are in each stage.
I really liked this game's take on a solution between like the tension between having an open world game of any genre, platforming or otherwise, and a discrete linear game. Mm-hmm. Like in most of the time in lots of open world scenarios, they want you to feel like you can go any direction at any time. So they give you lots of scaling powers, like in Assassin's Creed. You can get up over obstacles really fast. And if you're a god at Mario, you can still do that here, I think. At least with me messing around with the mechanics, it made it seem like if I was good enough, I could just do anything I wanted forever. But in this game, it seems like they struck a really nice balance between allowing you to have these prescripted linear challenges while still making an open world level by having a ton of verticality to everywhere that you are, so that once you're actually like off the ground, normally that means you're starting these like linear pathways and challenges, and you no longer have the complete freedom to like approach any platform from any direction that you want.
Right.
You can. There's this, if you different instances I remember, especially in the sand level, where you can like start from different directions while heading toward the same goal. But it's a really cool balance that they struck between doing just like straight up platforming levels where you have to have really tight control over all of the terrain that players have access to, while still feeling like you're just in a place and can just kind of go wherever you want and just look over there and see like a better coin and be like, oh, I'm really interested in that better coin. I didn't think I struck on this. The better coins, weirdly motivational for me.
Yeah, as Andy will describe later, I'm sure, the perp coins were my like primary driving force in most levels, because getting enough moons to progress was always something that was simple enough. And then the extraneous moons were things that I would basically tell myself, like, oh, I'll come back and grab that. But with the purple coins, they unlock these, like, individual things, and that's kind of how I marked my progress in a level, is, like, how many of those did I get so that I could decorate the Odyssey or put on a funny hat. Mm-hmm. Like, those were the things that were kind of important for progression, because the main game isn't, how you say, challenging.
To circle back around to what Chad said initially, I think what makes this more like Banjo-Kazooie is it's like the streamlined version of like Mario 64, which is kind of what Banjo-Kazooie set out to do.
Right.
It was more focused and it was more streamlined, and like the levels were more tightly designed to like have something valuable anywhere you turned, and it was quick to get to each thing and to feel like you were making progress.
I really liked the stupid like viewfinders that you could throw your hat on for this purpose.
I did that once.
I was shut up. I really enjoyed, not only because this game is ludicrously beautiful, just throwing my hat under those guys, having them rocket into the sky, and then having what seemed like, from my perspective at the time, like complete control to set my own goals from an omniscient perspective after that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's way more useful to have that in the game than just like a 2D top-down map. I don't know if I even ever used the map after I learned it was there.
This is going to be like a whole thing. Because I have nothing, for the first time ever, I have nothing but good things to say about the map. Mm-hmm. I traditionally hate maps in all games and complain about it pretty vocally whenever there's one that I find particularly egregious. Mm-hmm. But in this instance, I really enjoyed the map and didn't really use those, but I can see, depending on your sort of flow with this game, those little periscope things could be like a really interesting sort of like diegetic map where it exists. The map in this game is actually diegetic as well. Not like Far Cry 2 levels, but it's, it's a physical map.
What it gave me was the ability to see the actual platforming challenges in 3D before I arrived there, which a 2D top-down map for most challenges can't actually provide you.
Right.
Like, I could look at this one pillar out in the middle of nowhere and be like, okay, how do I get there? And then look at the other pieces of the environment from different perspectives and angles before actually tackling it. And I appreciated that.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing that I want to sort of touch on is that both of you have brought up. It comes down to this level design, the way that they created the worlds, or the kingdoms that you travel to in Odyssey. And the thing, like, you describe it sort of broadly as this open world but linear. Like, they designed linear paths to areas in an open environment.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that is what the Mario design, like the 3D Mario game design philosophy always sort of strives to get to.
Yeah.
There are some areas, particularly in Sunshine, I think that the abstraction that Mario 64 was allowed pretty much every level to land as its own sort of environment that has its own challenges.
Yeah.
Sunshine had a couple of levels that felt like, oh, go into the hotel again. I wonder what's there this time. Probably more ghosts. They just like don't quite get there. In Odyssey, this is like the traditional Mario design, but times 10.
Yes.
They made all of the levels huge.
And tall.
Yeah, and very tall. And they do a good job of at least spacing that out. Like, Cascade Kingdoms sort of introduces you to the concepts that you're going to be dealing with. The Sand Kingdom is a huge open with very little verticality, except for the ones that you have to like take special vehicles to get to. And then it all, like, the extreme opposite of that, of course, is New Dock City, where everything is incredibly vertical. You're up on the tops of buildings, jumping back and forth between them.
Like, as someone who has obviously way less involvement in terms of depth with these, but like every human being on Earth has some level of involvement with all of them. I went through Sunshine for the podcast, and I went through Super Mario 64 because I'm a human being. It seemed like that Sunshine never really got to the same kind of discrepancies of height. Like, I remember when I was going through levels in those games, I never felt like I got much more than like 1 or 2 stories off of the ground of what I was going to do, so there wasn't nearly as much layering and differentiation in terms of the paths that you can go through.
Right.
And especially in Super Mario 64, I felt like the ground was less of its own space with its own distinct like utilities and platforming challenges than it was just like a fail state for the higher up areas. Like, I remember every time that I felt like if I'd fallen off somewhere high or hit the ground, I didn't feel like I was surrounded by a lot of other things to do. It felt like, oh, this is the time when I have to now get back to where I was and restart the same linear challenges. Like, it feels like there's way more to do on the ground, and there's way more air for you to reach when you're trying to climb things there.
Yeah.
In Odyssey.
The thing that Odyssey does, I think, to prevent that sort of thing, the area that you can be forgiven for totally forgetting about in Sunshine that tries to do the verticality thing is Noki Bay. And the problem with Noki Bay is that it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's like the higher up you
Noki
go...
Bay, the one with the purple water when you first get there? That was my favorite level in Sunshine.
It's a really great level, like, aesthetically. But the problem with it is when you start to go up, you end up in this situation where the only reason you're going up is because that's the challenge, is to be able to climb up there. If you fall, you have to start the whole thing over again. Odyssey is littered with things that make getting back to where you were when you got there originally way easier to do. Between electric lines, like the traffic pylons, fucking forks, like whatever.
Transformations.
Yeah, like whatever you have laying around, you're able to get back to where you were in like a quick and, for the most part, fun time. There are very few moments in this game where I felt frustrated because I had to do something over again or do something that felt like it was going to take a long time because there just weren't that many things. They tried to streamline the sort of free running.
Yeah, Mario's always had really polished movement mechanics, but like they took it to a whole new level in this game where like almost everything that you can interact with also increases your movement and probably does 2 or 3 other things for you as well.
Right.
Yeah. And they did a crazy good job at layering that complexity behind a relatively simple mechanic set. I feel like, to a certain extent, the complexity of Mario's like 3D moveset, a lot of its legacy stuff, like they had that whole action guide thing that they have to keep reminding you exists for people like me who haven't just like immediately ingrained all the button combinations that are legacy holdovers from other games.
This is what I was going to get into, so yeah, I'll come back to that.
And that feels like old Mario design, like creeping in for the sake of backwards compatibility for, memories of old players, things like that. But every time an Odyssey unique mechanic comes up, it's like the smoothest shit in the world. Like they have an infinite number of different things that you end up doing by the end of this game. Like everything from shooting tanks to destroying rocks as a T-Rex. Like just a billion possible interactions with the world. And it's all layered behind a hat mechanic that's universal and understandable. And it's sort of like separated out. Like you never have to worry about more than 2 or 3 different buttons at a time, despite having a number of different things that you can do in the game that would like rival or dwarf some of the most complex 3D open world games that people have around. I never felt overwhelmed and always felt like I was doing something cool and different and fun, and I love that to death.
Yeah. This game strikes like at a new milestone in video game accessibility. Like, this is probably the game that is the easiest to do the most stuff in, if there was a metric that you could somehow measure that on. The thing that's been talked about this is, like, if you compare it to other, like, 3D action games, how they, like, use every button on the controller, and Mario made the, like, bold decision to map 2 of the buttons on the face button to the same action twice. Mm-hmm. So both your X and Y button are your, like, action, attack, throw, hat button, and your A and B are both jump. And further than that, of course, you, like, L and R both crouch, etc. That kind of a thing that is designed to just sort of make it so that anybody can kind of pick up and play the game. But the thing that I wanted to talk about is when we were discussing Sunshine, and you were talking about all the mechanics that are holdovers from previous games, that you just had zero idea what the hell was going on, that you didn't know about the ground pound.
Yeah.
Did you review, like, the action manual when you started?
Oh, absolutely. It was my favorite thing in the world. I would, every time I started up to play this game again, the first thing that I did, because I am a boring old man, is opened up this manual and was like, let's remember how to do that thing where you dive in the air. Right. And I assume that was in all of the other games also, as like a secret cool thing.
You could dive in 64 and Sunshine, but it was different. It was a different button.
Right. It was like its own distinct action.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out how to dive, and I had to open the manual for that one.
Yeah, because you have to start the ground pound. Like, the ground pound puts you into, like, a state where you can trigger the dive, which was interesting, because you can actually dive out of a ground pound as well, which makes, like, some weird platforming things you can do, where you can, like, jump down a thing and then dive into a little alcove.
The dive has always been, like, the secret, like, fastest way to get around, though, in all the games.
Yeah.
Like, in Super Mario 64, the fastest way to move around is to just run and dive and, like, keep, like, jumping and diving over and over again. And in Sunshine, you squirt the water and you dive and slide on it.
Yep.
Like, it feels like they at least put forward a greater effort to that kind of accessibility in terms of secret mechanics. Because, like, here's the balance they got to strike, right? Like, there's the vast majority of people who will play these games that they are looking to be accessible toward will never care about those mechanics if they don't want to, which is the reason, though, they don't spend a whole lot of time tutorializing them.
Right.
It's because the people who are your returning veterans will already know, and the people who are picking up the game for the first time are presumably 10-year-olds who don't care and will naturally learn these things on their own. And it left out people like me, weird, like, mid-20-year-olds who somehow didn't have familiarity with this stuff and wanted the complexity but didn't have the backwards knowledge.
Right.
And now they threw me a bone with, like, secret manual, well, not secret, but, like, a manual they tell you about you can review whenever you want, and, like, the occasional hatty tips.
Yeah. There are also signs that you can read that are littered throughout the world. The hat tips, ooh, as somebody who did internalize the controls pretty quickly, those guys, I mean, you can skip it, but I always wanted to hear his little, like, tidbit about the kingdom.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, dude, you just saw me, like, do a backwards somersault, throw the hat, bounce off the hat, get on top of the Odyssey to get here. Don't tell me about a ground pound.
Oh yeah, I can. Even those weren't even particularly useful for me. I'm just saying I'm happy that the action guide exists and that they drew attention to it, and it really did make me enjoy this game a lot more. On top of the million other things that made me actually enjoy this game.
Right.
Yeah. Newsflash: this is probably my favorite 3D platformer.
It is probably also my favorite 3D platformer.
Yeah. I've got that deep-rooted Mario 64 love, but
you can put on the Mario 64 outfit
that's
and
true.
hang out in the Mushroom
But I mean,
Kingdom.
like, I'm sure given time, this will settle into
I heard
being
this
my
is like,
favorite.
This is like a one-off rumor, so I'm not gonna swear that I even know the source of this, but I heard that they are planning, like, some form of DLC for this game, and included in that is potentially Bomb Battlefield. So maybe they'll just backport all of Super Mario 64's levels.
That would be kind of awesome. But I think I would just rather see new stuff, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, truth be told, that's...
Like, as it is, if you got to the Mushroom Kingdom and you went into Peach's Castle and Bob-omb Battlefield was just there and you could just jump in and it was a level,
right.
That would have been awesome. But, like, now, if they were like, Bob-omb Battlefield DLC, I'd be like, do something new.
It kind of blows my mind,
you know what I mean?
That you guys are even, like, that you guys or they would even, like, bring up DLC as a concept for this game at all, considering how much this game is literally named after the fact that it's just bursting at the goddamn seams with, like, new mechanics and levels and different experiences and things to do.
Oh, yeah. The new... If they introduce new levels, I mean, it would put the... Because the level of content in this game is already at an unattainable level for me. Mm-hmm. The going further than that would just be like, you're just adding things to the pile. But like, a new level to go in would still be a neat time rather than spending 6 more hours in the Lake Kingdom.
Right. So, as someone who's not a completionist and has no interest in getting everything in every level at all, I would like to see them add like a couple more. Like it just adding a new kingdom is like the perfect like thing to do for like in a DLC pack.
Yeah. But to go now back to the beginning of the podcast, welcome to NOCLIP. We're going to talk about the why, for all of the reasons just discussed a second ago, the addition of like a bazillion stars or moons or sprites or whatever you want to call them is actually just the best decision that this game made, and also the thing that I hear complained about the most, because of the complexity of Mario's movement and how much you actually can do with like a little bit of ingenuity and a couple of hat throws. The game needs to have an outlet for that. Like, you have to be able to do that for a reason. And the fact that there are 900,000 moons in this game, that's a real number. It's not applicable, but it is real.
I don't think anyone ever disputed that 900,000 is a real number.
That's true.
Who's your audience there?
So, somebody out there is like, nah, I've never heard that one before. Allow them to include some things that are downright fucking dastardly hard later in the game, and that is kind of where the balance is, where the parts about this game that I like and that I don't like meet at. You'd kind of have to do a lot of work to get to the stuff that will actually challenge you if you're a seasoned platform game player.
I'm going to do a classic Andy thing and say I fall kind of in the middle on the moons issue, because I think there are too many, but not by as much as probably a lot of other people complaining do. It's like a Shrines and Breath of the Wild thing for me.
Right.
Like, I wish they could remove like a small fraction, like not a significant portion of them, but like they cut down the number by like 100 maybe. Because there's like 830 of them.
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
I've played to like where I got to 500 and I feel like I'm about done.
Yeah.
Like, so if they could like trim down like 100 or 200 moons out of it and kind of like...
So that you just were done.
No. But so that like some of them they could make more of them like a bit hard, like they could redistribute like the quality among all of them. There aren't as many that are just kind of like...
One-off secrets.
One-off thing that's just sitting right there.
Yeah. Yeah, those are because that's the one that people, they're like, I don't feel any satisfaction from picking up a moon that's like just hovering over the ground on the critical path to the boss. Which makes sense, like you don't feel satisfaction from that. That moon is likely just there because they chose the number, and maybe like one moon got cut because like in playtesting they determined a lot of people struggled to find a particular thing. Mm-hmm. So they just were like, well, let's just put one in a glowy spot on the ground. But the thing that I really just have to, and this is kind of the doom of this game in terms of like people giving their initial opinions of it, is it's going to take about like 12 hours, but when you hit that point, those easy moons are going to feel like such a respite from like that fucking crumbly walkway bullet game that I was doing last night for 50 tries.
Dude, I like easy moons. I'm a baby person, but like I felt great when I managed to just look to the left and realize that there was like a really short interlude that ended in a moon. I felt accomplished and like I was in my little baby's first way. And we're like, oh, the game didn't expect me to get this moon. Got you, game. It's my moon.
I think it was just people. Because, people who are not seasoned platform game players are probably going to see the easy moons and be like, normal moon, cool, and not think twice about it because they're not expecting to be challenged. It's the people who want this to be like Mario Souls Odyssey, Mario Dark Odyssey, where everything is just really like look what you can do with Mario. Now do it like 100 times perfectly in a row.
I think that's kind of an overstatement. I think the complaint comes more from there are a significant number of moons where like this thing of one like in the Lost Kingdom or whatever.
Okay.
Like at the very top is where like the shop is, and there's one just like on top of a tree.
Right.
You know, like you don't have to like do anything special to get it. And when you get moons like that, it's just like, okay, I got a moon. You know, like, that thing is, it's not like inherently like bad.
It's moon inflation?
Yeah, it's moon inflation.
Oh,
it's just
shit.
like, there are too many that it's just kind of like, oh, like you didn't feel like you were doing anything. You just stumbled across it.
Right.
And like, I think people find that to be like unsatisfying.
Right.
And I don't think it's necessarily just the only people complaining about it are people who want the game to be super hard. I think it's just like there are just too many
moons.
I mean, you're probably right. And people who do complain about it probably... It is a valid thing. Like, if you're the kind of person who, like I claim to be, but only on games that aren't for the podcast... somebody who doesn't have time to like drop a whole million hours into a game to get to the good shit is why I never sit right with MMOs and stuff like that. This game does gate some of the more difficult stuff behind seeing the credits. You have to actually finish the game to unlock the moon rocks that create more moons expectedly. But even though, like, some of those are still just, like, sitting out in the open. Mm-hmm. I think at that point it becomes, like, this is not a big deal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you brought up the issue of, like, not having as much time to play. I think one reason the game's designed this way, where there's so many moons, is because it's on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the fact that like they know people will be playing this on the bus,
right?
Like people will be playing it like when they have only a couple minutes of time, and like so they can just boot it up, find a moon, be satisfied with their time, put it back, and play it tomorrow.
Right.
So it's got that portability factor like baked into its design.
Speaking of the handheld elements of the Switch as it relates to this game, I feel like there's a chance this is something that might be discussed elsewhere, but have either of you guys experienced what I'm tentatively going to call, like, irrational Switch graphics disappointment? I keep getting into these situations where, like in Super Mario Odyssey, where I'm playing the game at home, and I'm like looking at this like stunning, beautiful HD gorgeousness that's all just being beamed into my eyes. And then I, do the little switch thing where it makes the fun clicky noise, and I pick it up to take it somewhere else. And then I look at the Switch screen on the now portable handheld, and I'm like instantly disappointed because I can see that we've dropped to 720p, and that like I no longer have... I knew that if I was playing this at home, I would have like more gorgeousness than I'm currently experiencing, even though it's strictly better that I have the ability to play it away from home.
I don't feel the opposite, but I kind of feel like the games look a little bit better in the handheld mode.
Really?
Yeah, because I think all the textures look better on the smaller screen. Like, I was playing Breath of the Wild because you had Mario, and I had nothing to do. But I felt like when I was playing it on the handheld, I was like, oh, feels like there's less pop-in, and the textures look a little bit crisper on the handheld than when it's on the TV. Like, and I've never been an HD snob, so I don't I could not notice the difference between 1080p and 720p if my life depended on it.
Right.
So that's not an issue for me.
My issue was because I've played. Now I haven't played this as much at work as I do with some portable games because I haven't been into work
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Yeah, 1200, whatever, alright? But the important thing here is I did play this game at the laundromat. And the thing about this game, and the Switch being portable generally, is the fact that if you want your battery to last for the amount of time it takes to do a load of lights, you have to turn the brightness on the Switch to 0 and look at a blank screen. And that's where I felt the disappointment, is because it just immediately became way harder to tell things for me, that like playing it on the go was a little bit untenable. Now, I played it in my room with the lights off, and the contrast helps and made the Switch screen seem fine. I didn't sit there and like malign that you couldn't see the detail in Mario's jeans pocket, but it does, like, it's a little bit of a difference. I wouldn't say that it's normal to have irrational Switch mobile disappointment, whatever you called it.
Yeah. One thing, though, for me is I always felt like when I was playing either this or Zelda, if I was playing it in handheld mode and then I ran across like something significant, like a boss fight or like some kind of story thing or whatever, I felt disappointed that I wasn't playing it on the TV at that moment. I was like, oh, I feel like this would be better. Because
Right.
like I prefer playing on the console version, or like on the TV, if I have the option. So like I feel weird disappointment in that sense.
Yes.
I beat the final boss actually in handheld mode, which was, I actually then beat it again accidentally on the TV later. It wasn't a huge difference for me.
Are you saying Super Mario Odyssey is so easy that you beat the game a second time accidentally?
No, what happened was I got to the end and I was
It's just so good.
It's so good. I
You
wanted
got to
play
the
it
ending again accidentally.
I was looking for some perp coins as I do, and I got to the moon. And when I was on the moon, I was looking around, and I was like, "What? I wonder, maybe there's some purple coins in the wedding chapels." I went up to the chapel. I was looking around. There's somebody commenting about a picture, and I was like, "Oh, it was a cool picture." I jumped into the picture, and it just replays the boss fight. So I'm in the middle of the boss fight. I was like, I don't want to do this. I had a goal. This is useless to me. So I tried to. You can't leave once you start it. It's just you do it again. So I like speed run played the boss fight a second time on TV, and it looked pretty good.
How did you guys feel about the bosses generally?
I wish they had not made them all just 3D Mario bosses. It's the same thing I felt when I fought the bosses in Galaxy. I was like, oh, it's a slightly prettier thing you hit 3 times and you win.
Yeah, they felt very much like they were influenced by the boss design in 3D Land and 3D World. Which is, like just cool looking character models that you jump on 3 times or whatever.
Yep. There's one boss in particular that I thought was... Well, I didn't actually like it that much when I played it, but when I played the rematch in the Mushroom Kingdom, the one from the... I'll remember the name. I think it was called the Garden Kingdom? The one with the robots?
The Wooded Kingdom.
The Wooded Kingdom.
Ah.
The Wooded Kingdom boss, where you play this little onion guy who, Jesus Christ, if Captain Toad can get his own spin-off game, the onion dude should get his own spin-off game, because that was probably the most fun transformation in the whole thing for me. I just like the thought process that goes into it.
Legs? You like legs?
I like stretchy legs. And he does like a little snap in the leap. It's great. It's really satisfying. I played through the entire main level as one, just to see if I could, and you can, and it's amazing. So, the boss of that one, you play as him, and you like smash up through some bricks into a thing, and then they introduce a wrinkle in the rematch where when he'll shoot not at you, but at these like those little fire ring projectors, and they then trigger like several of them, and so you have to like dodge those while you're destroying the thing. It became like this kind of intense, still not hard. It could have been a little bit more intense, but this intense, like, oh, you got to jump over here, you got to move over this way, jump to avoid that, and then smash the thing. So that boss was great. All the other bosses, mediocre.
Yeah, I think it helped that a number of them incorporated transformations, but still, like, really not that...
Like, we're getting a point in the series where you kind of have to incorporate transformations, which I, have a sneaking suspicion is why this game exists, is because they thought up one, like, core consistent interaction, the interactions that you have via hats, and then after that point, because that hat interaction is mostly about acquiring new mechanics through, like, capturing other enemies, it just stopped. Instead of having one centralized mechanic that was its own thing, like the flood in Super Mario Sunshine or something, you now have a central mechanic that is constantly tied into acquiring new mechanics, which means they don't have to build a whole game's worth of content around one new thing, exploring every nook and cranny.
But
you can
they
just
the stretchy leg onion guy, Nintendo, make it happen.
They just have like literally 100 different mechanics that could all support like a 5-hour game, all stapled together into like this beautiful little salad.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because of that, of course, the bosses that incorporated the transformations were just better, for the most part, than any of the ones where you play as just Mario.
Mm-hmm. Rabbits were pretty creepy.
That's true. They lose their creepiness like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th time that you fucking fight them.
Yeah. I'm suspicious, like I was when we talked about Breath of the Wild, that Kilton started out as Tingle and they changed it. I feel like the rabbits started out as the Koopalings, and then they changed them to something different.
Right.
Why would you rather have like a weird, huge mouth guy that vomits poison than a Koopaling, though?
What?
Like what? He's asking.
Oh.
In his own way.
It's like, I feel like their thought process was probably they wanted them to be the Koopalings, or they wanted to incorporate them, and then when they were working on like implementing them in the game, they were like, well, why don't we do something different? Because
they don't want
they don't want it to be like too derivative or too referential. Like they want to do something new.
Yeah, they get to hold their little celebration of Mario for the last level, and it really is like that's the thing I think I'm going to want to bring up later.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the Mushroom Kingdom and like post game stuff after the break. But yeah, so they did sort of want to save that, and they made the Brutals.
Even the name is like creepy. The name like crawls on you.
I don't know. The name is bad. It's a pun, but it's a pun with a new made up fake word because it's like their bridal planners or some wedding job. When I read it initially, I thought that the joke was that they were the bridal party. Mm-hmm. Like Bowser was like, "What do princesses like? How about rabbits in hats?" Which seems like reasonable. I think most people would like rabbits in hats. That's adorable. But he picked like the worst ones. Like he's like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas, picking those like fucking satanic little kids, and was like, these are like regular kids trick-or-treating, but really they're sadistic masterminds of horrible plans, and that's kind of the situation that we have going on here. But as it goes on, I have no idea what they're like. They're basically just hired to help, and they're not particularly engaging boss fights.
Oh, and also they're from the moon, and they're
from the dark side.
I think the idea is that Bowser went to the moon to like rent the church or whatever for his wedding, and he found them there and was like, "Hey, you want to help me fight Mario?"
You're evil, right?
Yeah. I love this as like the plot. Like any Mario game, the plot is pretty like threadbare. Mm-hmm. we have this cutscene at the beginning where Mario just gets utterly trounced and is dropped like 350,000 feet to the surface of a planet, where he craters into the ground and then is revived by
a hat.
Yeah, a Boo wearing a hat, basically. And then, yeah, and it just sort of goes from there. So we never get that backstory of like why Bowser has a base on the moon. Why does the wedding have to be on the moon? Is that just how things are done here?
Look, I'm sorry. Like, clearly, he wanted nothing but the best for her.
No, I think Bowser wanted nothing but the best for himself.
Right, yeah.
He literally traveled around the globe and outside of it. He traveled outside the globe to give her the best wedding possible.
Well, even like the locations on the moon.
He traveled around the world to give himself the best wedding possible because Peach was one of the things that he stole to give himself at the wedding.
Yeah. Yep. What a bastard. But no, even like so you go through all of these kingdoms, and like if you scroll from the beginning of it all the way to the end, you can see like the globe turns as you do it, and so presumably these are all the places.
Yes.
And none of them have a wedding chapel. What the moon does. Even the locations on the moon is like Honey Loon Ridge. It's like obvious lunar, honeymoon.
Are you suggesting that the only chapel is on the moon?
This is exactly what I'm suggesting. I'm putting this forth as Mario canon. That's why there are no married couples in Mario games. Because they're turtles.
And turtles can't reach the moon? Is that...
Yeah.
Yeah, turtles don't mate for life. Like, yeah, that's all I was going for.
Isn't there like a nursery rhyme about turtles trying to reach the moon by stacking on top of themselves?
Okay, maybe. If there is, and you knew about it, maybe you can enlighten me as to why rabbits come from the moon. Is that also a thing that I'm just not aware of?
I don't think so.
They just wanted to go with that?
No, I just think, like, evil eldritch horrors come from the moon.
Oh, they come from underwater.
Yeah. I really cannot accent enough how much I didn't like the face of the big poison guy. I gotta make sure I get this into the podcast like 3 or 4 more times.
His face, or just the fact that he's a rabbit that vomits poison?
His face. And you could easily do a really cool rabbit that vomits poison. Especially if it had like more rabbit-like qualities and less like general like cartoon rabbit qualities.
Are we gonna go to the tapes on this one?
Yeah, I just remember him looking like a rabbit.
I don't remember him having a particularly vile face.
His face takes up like 3/4 of his... By face, I of course mean mouth. His mouth takes up 3/4 of his face.
You mean like a cartoon character?
Like a cartoon character that never moves its mouth off of that point.
How do you spell Broodals? How do they spell it?
It's Broodals.
Yeah, just search Broodals. He's the one that'll stick out because his mouth could literally consume all of the other ones at any time. And his expression seems to suggest that he wants to. Constantly. That's him.
He just kind of looks like a cartoon rabbit to me.
Oh, God, look at that.
Are you sure it's not the red hair? That looks kind of weird.
Let me review the tape here.
I mean, there's a lot of elements that
he does
combine.
have a big mouth, but I mean, that's not really that unusual.
Like, I feel like middle rabbit is like generic evil rabbit. I like the girl rabbit's design, and I like the 1850s Southern lawyer rabbit.
Ragtime rabbit.
Yeah.
Lanky Kong the rabbit.
But this guy has like no unifying theme other than his terrifying
he's
mouth.
A squat rabbit that has like...
he's like the muscle.
I wanted to push back on this a little bit,
rabbit.
But yeah, he is way more unsettling than all of the other ones, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the hair. He has his crazy long, wacky hair, where none of them have visible hair except for the girl. And that's like an established cartoon tradition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate a male from a female animal? It has like a weird hairdo.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a little bit weird. And he even has like a fucking like a Renaissance puffy shirt.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what is being evoked there? I don't know.
Who knows, dude? I can't tell. He's an anachronistic...
I think that's just an ascot. I don't think that's his shirt.
Well, that's better, but not. It doesn't solve the problem.
Speaking of problems, is it implied anywhere that I missed that New Donk City also used to be like a classic kingdom, like a literal fiefdom, like all the others are kingdoms?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I mean, it's called the Metro Kingdom.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
Metro
yeah.
Kingdom. Here's my like just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching on this.
I think you're just correct.
Right.
If you're going to say what I think you're going to say.
Just like game theory is all the time.
Yeah, it's such a respected and trusted source.
Indeed.
We're not going to throw shade on like one of the more popular gaming YouTube channels. But if we were, that's what we would say. But my thoughts on it are, I think that New Donk City is the city that Donkey Kong was building in Donkey Kong. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why he's standing on a bunch of fucking scaffolding.
Yeah.
And then, like, new Donkey Kong, wiser to his old man's ways, rolled in and was like, we're just going to theme this, like, around... But Squawks Avenue's down there, and I don't know, some other shit that references Donkey Kong Country. Mm-hmm. But
it has the same like red girders and stuff in it.
Yeah,
so it's definitely in Pauline's there. It's definitely supposed to be the same place.
Yeah. I like that Pauline became mayor as well. Like, despite them all being kingdoms, she's the only leadership that you ever see, and she's not a queen. She's a mayor. So she doesn't rule over all of the Metro Kingdom, but she's popular with her constituents in New Donk.
Right.
It's a pretty cool mayor.
And she's a good mayor. Everyone just sings her praises all the time. So she's either a great mayor or there's like some 1984 shit going on.
Indeed. Like name
that would explain all the weird people.
Yeah, all the crazy. Yeah,
and they're all being controlled.
Can you name in real life one cool mayor?
Define a cool.
You define. I don't care.
How many mayors do you know?
Exactly.
Well, the mayor of Toronto is cool by like a rock star standpoint because he does lots of cocaine. This is their past mayor. I don't want to slander Toronto right now.
Okay.
But their former mayor did a whole lot of cocaine and was like a crazy man.
I
he
get
was
that.
Cool, but he was a bad mayor. Thumbs down.
Okay.
Not a good mayor.
But I mean, the only thing that you see Pauline do is like organize a festival.
But she's also a singer, though.
That's true. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to stipulate this for further examples of cool mayors. They have to both be cool and be a mayor. Like, it's got to be a thing that like people look back on with happiness and joy. Like, oh man, our mayor is so cool. Not like, oh man, our mayor is too cool.
Right. Well, this is the problem because Pauline seems to be a good mayor. People seem to like her. However, as a person, I would like to enter this evidence into the discussion. At a later point in the game, after you crack open that moon rock in the Metro Kingdom, you can go talk to her, and she says, "Do you want to? I want you to get to know me better in the form of a quiz," which she then asks you things about herself, which you have between like a 0% chance of knowing and like a 25% chance of knowing. And that is a weird thing for a person to do. So if somebody was like, I would like to introduce hi, I'm Chad. I'm going to tell you about myself in the form of a pop quiz. And then I just started asking you questions. You would be like, that kid is not cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting to lean, I'm in the middle on Pauline, I gotta say.
Andy, I assume you have no particular strong opinions.
I mean... I like Pauline on a surface level. I like that she dresses like Carmen Sandiego, and I like that she sings that cool song. But that's all that I know about her. I don't think that's enough to make a judgment.
Oh yeah, that's why you gotta
need to take her pop quiz.
That's why I took the pop quiz. Oh. And you describing the pop quiz has made me realize the way you're supposed to do it is talk to all the people and they'll tell you things about her. But I probably did what like everyone else did and just like muscle my way through
just guessed answers. Yeah. Right, that's what I did. The only ones the only things that I could possibly even come up with were things that you could infer from the game, the arcade game Donkey Kong.
Wait, so you can retake the pop quiz if you're
Oh yeah,
questions
yeah.
right?
If you get a question wrong, you just go, "Hey," and then she's like, "Here's another question."
It's just to get a moon. You get all the way through it, and she gives you a moon.
No, you don't, and
Or
that's
what
the worst
happens?
thing because this makes her even less cool. You finish the pop quiz, and she goes, "Thanks. By the way, it's my birthday," and you have to go get her a gift. And bring it to her, and then she gives you a moon.
Yeah, okay.
This is not a reciprocal relationship at all. You put in 100% of the effort, she gives you like 1% effort back. Here's a moon I already had. Remember when we were in the power plant and thousands of moons were just being piled into that machine all at once? I have one of those.
Yeah.
I've got millions
Honestly,
more. Here's one.
She's just mining the moon dry.
Like, you can't hide it from us. We've already established on this podcast how bad moon inflation has got.
Yeah.
There's a rising tide of economic downturns.
Maybe she's evil. She's hoarding all the moons to herself. That's not very cool.
I think we've stretched this one out quite long enough. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some cool shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back from the break. So, we spent a weird amount of time on the first half talking a lot about this one rabbit's mouth. Which, the reason for that is because one of the things that is most like striking about this game when you first pick it up, and it's been true of like the first Mario title on every console that Nintendo's released, more or less, is that this game looks so good, and just how they expanded upon the Mario aesthetic generally is really kind of impressive. If you remember a couple of episodes, actually, the first one, of course, being Super Mario Sunshine, and how I talked about the fact that one of the things that I really liked about the game is the fact that it has this consistency in themes from level to level in the way they're designed, and how they're all designed to look like things in this tropical island setting. I was initially kind of off-put by the fact that they went back to the Mario 64, like everything has a different wacky theme for each kingdom, but the game has so much else that made me love it, and then the actual aesthetic, the execution on that aesthetic is what really fucking sells each one of these kingdoms uniquely.
This game, in a lot of ways, feels like a subtle like pushback against a lot of the people that will like make fun of Nintendo's like overly simplistic, not into the 21st century aesthetic choices. Like in the way that a lot of people consider Nintendo's aesthetics to be really cartoony, this game keeps a light, colorful, beautiful cartoony aesthetic and then just mixes it with like every popular aesthetic in video games that couldn't be described as dark, and even some, in a couple of cases that can be described as dark, that's occurred over the last couple of like console generations. Mm-hmm. Like this is a game where they just fucking threw in a dragon. Like, as you said earlier, a Skyrim dragon is just in this game around for you to have a boss fight with.
Yeah, just a regular ass fucking dragon. Like,
yeah.
He's slightly Mario-ified, but very slightly.
And it looks real pretty. And they do that with all sorts of stuff. They do that with the robots in the Forest Kingdom, where it seems like it would look totally at home in like a modern console game that it does not have like a strongly bright and colorful plumber guy who's hopping around going everywhere. Like any of the aesthetics to these kingdoms could be separate from Mario and could support their own game.
Mm-hmm. It's like they really mix and match things. Like they didn't just go with your standard desert level. It's now a frozen desert. And they didn't go with like just a forest level. It's now a forest where industries moved in. And like they took a lot of steps to like differentiate the levels from your traditional like standard Mario themes, where it's like lava level, desert level, etc.
Mm-hmm. The one that shocked me the most was Bowser's Kingdom is not like just like a lava pit like it always is. In this particular instance, it's a Japanese, like an ancient Japan influenced, like big pointed structures with.
It's like a palace, like a Japanese like palace.
Yeah, it was that one really kind of blew me away because it just IGN.com because it just was so not what I was expecting and just like vast. Like it's such a
really
huge,
big.
This huge area that has all of these little design touches in it. It was just fun to navigate. It's a good level.
Yeah, it's cool that it wasn't just like a medieval castle and
Yep.
there wasn't as much lava. I actually kind of feel like Bowser should always have a Japanese-themed castle now, but, whatever.
Yeah. The problem is that Bowser is still just like a big turtle guy, so he's not like you could almost make. Well, I don't know. No, I'm getting my aesthetics mixed up here. I was thinking like, is Bowser like a dragon? He breathes fire, but he's a turtle.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you think of him more as a dragon or more as a turtle.
Yeah, I feel like I always have to associate him with turtles just because of the Koopas. You know?
I've always thought of him as more of a dragon, personally, but with a shell.
Yeah, it's a dragon with a shell.
Yeah.
The thing that pushes me away from dragon on Bowser aesthetically is that dragons, like one almost completely unifying trait that dragons have is that they're long. And he's like a stubby ass,
Not
like
necessarily.
square shaped dude.
I don't know if there's like a name for it, but like there are like dragons that are depicted kind of like Bowser is. Or like stockier. I'd have to like find some pictures for you.
Yeah, some stocky dragons.
And then like that are like stand up on 2 feet and stuff. Like I've
Okay.
definitely seen other dragons in that. Kind of
Like the one
style.
from Mulan.
Mushu.
That's
No.
the one.
No.
He's not squat. He's too
Yeah.
like tall in proportion with the rest of him.
Music! How was that for a transition?
Yeah, there's still more to say about the aesthetics, I think.
Yeah, because going through and like actually exploring these areas was a lot of the driving force behind me getting all of the moons that I did when I first went through each level, and the variety really helps that along. Like once I felt like I spent enough time in one area, moving to the next one actually did make me sort of excited about like, hey, what are they gonna do? And then when they throw the Lost Kingdom at you. In the middle of the game where you're not like told that you're going there and you don't know the general aesthetic, landing in like the crazy jungle full of rainbow wigglers was actually, I was just like, well, fuck yeah. Like I am on board with this, and all of that just sort of like I felt like there were very few misses, and I know that you don't even agree with the one that I have, which is the Luncheon Kingdom.
Oh yeah. I thought the Luncheon Kingdom was one of my favorite aesthetic themes because it's unlike anything that's ever been in a Mario game before. Like the weird pink lava, like neon polygonal vegetable kingdom with fork people. Like, like it was so unique, and I just really liked that.
When this game was first announced and they started bringing out like video for the first time, I needed to be won over on the aesthetics of this game. Not like because I'm an evil person who doesn't like Mario games, but because I felt like when I first saw this game, I didn't understand its point or theme. Like, the initial trailer was just like, you can go here, and this wildly different place, and this city with weird real people, and that proves Mario isn't a real person. And, like, the whole tagline of, like, Super Mario Odyssey just struck me initially as if it was, like, schizophrenic, and they just didn't know what they were trying to do, especially with the hat stuff. Like, I didn't get how the hat gelled with everything else, but after playing through the game myself personally, I now sort of get the unifying tie in the mechanical stuff that we talked about in the first half, and that the hat and its controlling mechanisms was a route to variety, because that mechanic's whole point is giving you a billion different things to do all the time. So of course you would describe a huge sequence of different things that you're doing as an Odyssey. But like when even still to this day, if I take like 3 steps back from the game, I'm like, so you're an explorer with a sentient hat. Like it's not really, it's not clean, but it is polished and real pretty.
Yeah, it's like from the initial trailers, I thought the whole globetrotting element really clicked for me. Like, I thought of it almost kind of like Kingdom Hearts, where like you're going to each of these distinct worlds on like and each one looks different, but there's just enough like of a unifying art style to tie it all together.
Yeah, man, it is really probably not surprising that I did not think of that, but that's like a way more valid comparison than I probably would have.
Even in like interviews, they've talked about with Kingdom Hearts that they wanted to like have each world have its own textures and to like look more different than each other, but they couldn't, on the PS2.
PlayStation 2, yeah.
But and that's kind of Mario kind of does that here, where each kingdom has like its own distinct look. And, like, you have, like, a realistic T-Rex that somehow, like, fits. And, like, the weird, like, Sonic people, like, in New Donk City and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Are you distinguishing Sonic people from people?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking, like, didn't...
Sonic 06.
Yeah, Sonic 06 had people in it.
Oh, it sure did.
They were, like, weird...
Yeah, this is actually... So the joke is Mario has always been better than Sonic and will continue to always be better than Sonic.
Of course.
And it's not really a joke that's like an adage. It's just a fact of life. Sonic, in 2006, 11 years ago, did real people, and people have been making fun of it consistently for 11 years. Mario puts real people in the game, and people go for like 3 months where they're like, it's so weird. Why is Mario walking around that regular guy? And then everyone just talks about that the game is good. They've overshadowed the fact that they're weird, tall, regular people. By making a game that is functional. And the people even work better, because in Sonic they just were like, no, these people are like totally okay with there being a weird hedgehog that walks around and talks to them and jumps real high and wears shoes, and it's fucking strange. In New Donk City they're like, they kind of speak Simlish and are like their own species of things. Like they equivocate the people in New Donk City who look like humans and forks that are also sentient and wear chef hats, as well as like mermaids and robots and like all of the things.
It was I think a really great idea to make them kind of like Sims, because like it's that level of separation where like they're not quite real people,
right?
Yeah, they're kind of like pawn people, like, they're like kind of like something's off, but that's the way it's supposed to be.
They're what the mayor views them as normally,
And there's at least 2...
So it's clever instead of in Sonic where it was stupid.
That's I do like that they make this like weird distinction where they're not... You can't mind control them, though, because I guess that's a little bit too weird for them. Except the RC car guy.
Oh, yeah, you can...
He was so confounded by the RC car. That he was more susceptible to Mario's
Was he wearing a hat? Because all the people wear hats.
They do all wear...
You can't knock the hats off, though.
Great distinction. Good notice.
He might not have been wearing a hat.
I didn't pick that up. I was actually also real disappointed that I couldn't mind control normal people.
Maybe Pauline is mind controlling all the people with her hat.
Oh my god, because it's like way bigger than Kathy.
It's like a satellite.
Yeah, it's a huge... We figured it out. We've solved why she's so weird. Yeah. There is a 1984 thing going on, and Pauline's mind controlling everyone in the city.
But like, you can't say that you wouldn't have enjoyed it if this game allowed you to mind control people and it had no mechanical relevance, and you were just like,
what would
nice
you
guy.
do? What would you do with a person if you mind controlled the person?
You'd like get in a car and it'd be like GTA but without the violence. It'd be like when you're trying to be nice in GTA.
My mind.
The idea of like Mario being inside like the one of the people and they're like running like really comically like down the street,
Yeah,
like hailing a cab.
This is actually a rich vein that needs to be mined.
You're just like your regular moveset, but you move slower and don't jump as high. You're like a normal person.
See, I like this. The thing my mind went to immediately is that you like control a guy, and you're like, "Huh, this is weird." And then like an alarm goes off on your on like your watch or your phone or something. You're like, "Oh, gotta go home," and like you have to go and like impersonate this guy as he's having dinner with his family.
Like Octodad.
Oh yeah, it's Octodad. It's Marioctodad.
Yes.
You get like a paper pusher, and you get coins the way that human beings get coins.
It's like that Rugrats episode, like they're literally pushing paper. It's like a whole mini game.
Why is this game so conducive to us going off on like crazy bullshit?
That's probably how they designed the game.
Mm-hmm.
They just went off on crazy bullshit, and they picked the stuff they liked and put it in.
Yeah.
It's like crazy bullshit by definition, almost, is the pairing of ridiculous, previously unpaired elements in a logical chain. And this game just is that in a row repeatedly.
Yeah, like it goes from like regular Mario game, you walk around, they teach you the controls, and you possess a frog.
Well, it doesn't
and
even
then
start off as normal Mario game. Because you're just in like a Tim Burton movie.
You are in a
First
Tim
level.
Burton movie.
And even the music even sounds like Danny Elfman music. Like I think like they specifically were going for a Tim Burton thing.
Yeah. And it doesn't even stop there because the music continues to be sort of like one of the big... Because obviously they put more of a spotlight on the music in this game than they typically do.
Yes.
Despite the fact that the music's always been great.
Yeah.
This game has more of like a focus on it because you have like there's a song selector that you can just choose like whatever music you want from the in-game menu and just have it playing at all times. They're like little toads and whatnot, but like that like crazy juxtaposition of like insane shit regular people situation that you have in New Donk City, even the music kind of follows that, where you have your juxtaposition of Mario running around in a Tim Burton movie and then like Bowser smashing blocks to a pop punk song at the end, which we knew about. The song from New Donk City was
Jump Up Superstar.
Yeah, so we knew about Jump Up Superstar because of the promotional material, and so I wasn't. And they even have like a diegetic, like it's Pauline singing the song when it's being played, and you can sort of just jive with that because it makes sense.
Damn right you can jive with that.
But when you get to the end, and it's just like, and they're just like, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
It definitely like puts a smile on your face. Like it was so unexpected.
I could not believe it.
I was like, oh my god, did they do this a second time? I was not expecting that.
It's a good song.
It is a good song. It's insane. They wrote 2 genuinely good songs that I would like put on my phone and listen to in my free time, completely independent of the game.
Yep.
For this game.
And we're the kind of people, you and me, I know JJ is less on this spectrum, people who don't generally just like put on a video game soundtrack to listen to. And yeah, 100%. And that goes for a lot of the stuff in this game. Like, if they had been like tweaked slightly to not be music that's meant to be heard on a loop and like a 3-minute chunk that has like a distinct beginning and end, like the music from New Donk regular is incredible.
Yeah.
The music from the Wooded Kingdom's one of my favorites that has like that 50s like sort of like that old time rock and roll
kind of feel.
It's so good. Oh my god, yeah, it was great. The having a smile on your face description is, I think, just like the whole motif.
Oh yeah,
for
I'm
the
sure that I
soundtrack.
was like grinning like an idiot while I was playing that part. Like, I just couldn't not smile at it.
Yeah. It does make it a little bit less of an issue that like the whole final boss and its run up and its post run are not real difficult, and I don't think they're intended to be, and that like crazy music they play at the end, sort of just like, because if you fuck that up, it would seem weird, like being like, da, 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 ooh. They like do the guitar slide one more time.
It's definitely going for more of an experience kind of a thing rather than it being a difficult challenge.
Yeah, but it was a good time.
Yeah, I loved it every second.
All right, so other than that, sort of a couple of the things that we've touched on, I know we've talked about the boss fights a bit. Were there like other moments of this game that you think stood out particularly?
I liked punching Olmec in the face. I kind of always, like, even when I was a child, really wanted to do that real bad. So
punching Olmec in the face. Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's also a boss fight, and it took me a second to realize what was going on.
Yeah, it took me a second to realize what you were saying as well.
That was really funny because of the animation on his face as you like bring the fist closer. Kind of like quickly snaps to be like, ooh, then he hit him, and then he has the.
I really liked in the Seaside Kingdom that like the whole level was the boss arena. Like it took a boss fight and made it feel like it was part of the level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because he's
always up there. Yeah, and like your goal is to knock him off the tower, and then you have to fight him in like the whole fucking level. Right. That stood out to me. One thing I was thinking while I was playing this game is that this might be the game that makes me one of those people that swears off watching trailers. Ooh. Because there were like several moments in this that I think would have like really wowed me if they hadn't been given away in the trailer. Because like they showed the first fucking thing they showed of the game was New Donk City,
right? Which
is like super unique and memorable. They played Jump Up Superstar in the trailer, which I mean I understand why they did, but it's like that sequence where you go through the festival and it's 8-bit Mario. They gave away the 8-bit Mario thing too.
That they did?
Yeah, that was in the trailer.
As you're aware, I'm one of those people who swears off watching trailers.
Not the Jump Up Superstar 8-bit sequence. They didn't give that away.
Oh, okay.
I meant like the fact that there was like you could be 8-bit Mario was in the game.
Okay,
that was given away in the trailer. But doing the whole festival in the New Donk City for the first time, like in game, like probably would have made me cry. It's like a super nostalgic Mario fan.
Right.
But like as soon as I talked to Pauline, she was like, round up this band. I saw where it was going. Like I knew the song was going to play and I knew there was going to be like a thing. You know, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But like there was a lot of stuff that I felt like this game was cheapened by watching the trailer first. Not enough. Still a phenomenal game. But I really wish that I wouldn't have watched the trailer.
The one that killed me, and the only reason that I knew about it was because it was like a super popular GIF online, was Mario capturing the dinosaur. Because doing that the first time in game, like I had this palpable feeling of, man, I wish I didn't know about this before, because it's cool as shit.
And like in that ending sequence, like that really was a memorable part because I didn't know you were going to capture Bowser. That was an awesome realization.
Yeah.
The song, the whole escape, and like the being on the moon level was kept a secret. Like that was all super memorable.
Yeah.
And like, but the first like half of the game, they'd shown like all those kingdoms already in the trailer. And like the Wooded Kingdom was shown, the Sand Kingdom was shown, New Donk City was shown. And I really wish that I wouldn't have watched the trailer. But I'm one of those people where it's like, Mario 64 is one of my favorite games. I was super excited for this, and it would have been easier for me to like saw my own leg off than to not watch that trailer. Like, so this might have taught me the lesson to just like not watch trailers.
If you're already engaged, absolutely. That's my line for it. Is if I know I'm going to get something already before the trailer comes out. And I don't like, and post-trailer conversation does not seem to have the theme of like, oh no, what have they done? Then I don't watch the trailer because but to be fair, they were in a really hard position to make a trailer for this game to try and sell it to people like me who would need selling on it. Because when the core theme of the game is variety and nothing that individually that you do is something you're going to be doing for a very long time, anything that you show is going to be a spoiler to some extent like that if it's good. Like, it's not like one game, like, say, Zelda or something, where in the trailer you can show vague things about what you're going to be doing constantly. Like, the Breath of the Wild trailer had you in a forest, on horseback, being attacked by one of those, like, robotic dudes, which is something that really doesn't give away any specifics about what you're going to do in a general Zelda story like that, because it has these overarching themes and mechanic sets that apply to anywhere that you go. Other than being Mario and jumping, this game definitely does not have that. It is all about giving you new, different, and unique experiences. So if they were going to like market a game based on unique experiences, not only do they have to show stuff that was going to spoil most of it, but they had to show a lot of stuff to get across that a lot of different things are going to happen. Like, it feels like an impossible situation to me in terms of marketing it while being able to maintain the impact of everything, and I don't know how they could have solved it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, and like, there's a lot of people, like, they're winning back fans right now, like Nintendo is, so like, it makes sense, and we kind of just like live in a spoiler culture now, where everyone just like tweets about shit immediately and analyzes stuff. And it's up online the next day and whatever. The
next day, even 10,
before
20 minutes.
that, like 20 minutes later. It's just really hard to avoid that kind of stuff, and I wish there was, like, a way, like, they could advertise to people, like, that... I don't know. I just wish there was more of a delineation between, like, you should watch this if you're not sold yet. Right. Or you shouldn't watch this if you want to, like, completely avoid spoilers or whatever.
Introduce, like, a ratings board for spoilers where it's like, this trailer has been rated S for spoilers, HS for heavy spoilers, and NS for no spoilers.
You can't do
just
that.
A black screen.
No, you can have a trailer for a game without spoiling things.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, you can't have the rating system, because in order to give that rating, they'd need the context of how much was spoiled, which you almost never have before something comes out. It has to be a pretty egregious trailer for you to give away everything, which has happened, but it's only in situations like that where you can, like, confidently say, like, oh, wait, this is the entire narrative arc in the film that I'm looking at right in front of me.
Yeah. Like, I'm just loathing that when Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers start coming out, like actual ones that aren't just teases.
Yeah.
Because, like, they've said in interviews, like, oh, we're going to show most of the worlds before the game comes out. And I'm like, no.
Please don't
God,
do
no,
that.
because I don't know when they're coming, and then they're going to get shared everywhere, and I'm going to, like, not be able to avoid knowing them all before the game comes out. Like, I don't want it to happen.
See, the biggest issue I had was with this game, they showed the T-Rex thing instantaneously, and I was like, oh, well, if they're going to show that in the trailer, like, what's the step up? What's the even cooler thing that you take over? A cloud? That,
Bowser.
Bowser is, I guess, the step up.
Yep.
But, I don't know, I wasn't that shocked by Bowser.
See, I never even thought about it. Like, I walked up to him, and then it took me a second, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, it had the exact intended effect on me, so I was like, that was great.
The other thing that we could potentially factor into this is how necessary is it actually to create trailers to market a Mario game?
Like I said, though, they're still, like, really, like, trying to win back old fans, because people have been very not into Nintendo for, like, 20 years now.
I don't know if it's that long.
Okay, like since 10 years now.
Yeah. Since the Wii, I'd say, is when they lost a lot of their,
I mean,
like,
even
diehards.
the GameCube didn't sell that well.
That's actually a good point.
Like, it's been a while since Nintendo's been, like, firmly on top. And like
20 years is more of an apt number than I thought.
It's been a long
since
time.
the N64.
Yeah. And, yeah, they're trying to, like, really push it into, like, to people who didn't own a Wii U or didn't like the Wii or, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm on the note of being disappointed in your inability to possess things that are a step up from a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Pretty high bar, admittedly. I was really hoping I was going to be able to possess a skyscraper, like get to the top of the skyscraper with the stupid little like antenna that's always on top of skyscrapers.
Yeah,
like,
Then
throw it
what
up
would
there.
you do with it?
And then you just like destroy things. You would just like
You
move,
just like roll
like
through.
It's just like Katamari.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah, it'd be
Katamari.
like Katamari.
Yeah, you just like
That
you
would
just
be-
roll down the street and just like knock
That would be
people out.
really hard to do.
You can possess meat.
Ooh,
Yeah.
What kind of meat?
Just like a huge like chunk of like rump roast. It's very strange. It's a moon in the Luncheon Kingdom that you get by like just throwing your hat at a huge piece of meat.
I didn't
and
even find
you
that
just,
one.
But that kind of action that you're talking about, where you slowly move, grinding across
Yeah,
the ground.
they'd have to have
occurs
like
a
their
couple
own
of
like
times.
separate like linear area where you possessed a building and destroyed like a
Well, because they
thing.
have there's the Under Siege where you possess the taxi and drive to it is like its own little like self-contained thing where you blow up a bunch of cars.
Right.
I'm not saying I wanted like Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction here. I just mostly wanted the hilarity.
Oh, that pull!
Thank you.
I love that game, dude.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It was a very good like long time ago. open
Next
world game.
time we're talking about Incredible Hulk Distracted. Sorry, I got really excited. That game was great. Anyway,
like,
move on.
You couldn't have like in the main like level like be able to take over one of the buildings and like destroy things in the level.
No, I don't
that
mean.
wouldn't work.
I didn't mean destroy thematically, not destroy literally. Like I wanted to feel like I was just this enormous hulking mass
That you weren't
that was just
supposed to be.
scraping along the ground.
What if, better idea,
Yeah.
you dumb idiot, you take over a skyscraper, it goes into a cross-sectional view, and then you play elevator action inside of the building, but you control the elevators.
Or like it would have to be like one of the more open levels. Like if you could like be the pyramid in the Sand Kingdom or something,
and float around.
and then you had to like move it to the side, and there's like something underneath of it or something.
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
would be cool.
Like I'd be fine even if I had to like obey traffic laws and stuff. I just wanted to make sure
I
that I could have the
yeah.
experience of like being a huge thing.
And then you run into the issue of then like you move it. It has to be small enough to fit between all the buildings on the. It has to be able to go down all the streets, and then like you have to be able to pop out of it and then just leave it where it is. Like
Right.
that would cause all kinds.
Well,
of
they usually
problems.
do just like vanish and go back to where they were.
that's
so you can
true.
do that.
But
I think
Like jump.
the compromise here is that you take control of a taco truck and just like slowly amble down the street as a food stand.
Dude, food stands are always compromises.
That's true. Yeah, it's a compromise between do I need to eat food immediately and does that food have to taste good or be sanitary? Bringing back my classic aversion to food trucks that everyone thinks is unfounded.
it is.
It is. It's very uncommon.
So yeah, we do want to talk about the darker side.
Yes.
So
Now that I got my little rant out of the way.
we all got at least a rant out of the way. So way back at the beginning of this podcast, we talked about how the game isn't particularly challenging, and they sort of gate all of the difficult stuff behind finishing the game and then going through it. Going through all of those more difficult challenges then unlocks a pretty difficult challenge, and then completing a bunch more moons after that unlocks the granddaddy of difficult challenges in this game, which is the hidden kingdom they refer to as the darker side of the moon. Pink Floyd didn't see it coming. And what this is basically like a gauntlet. I assume you did not play this.
No.
Okay. It is in a set of, I think it's like 15 different challenges. And you just have to make it all the way through all of them on one life. You get like a heart refill midway through. And then another
and there
one.
are some hidden hearts throughout.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you die, you go back to the beginning.
Right. And this was like, the way that you described it to me, I basically figured that this was going to be like a total nightmare of just like crazy hard platforming challenges, and the reality is it was. You were pretty correct about it. This took a pretty significant amount of time. I don't think I'm like the greatest platform game player of all time, but Jesus, the amount that they ask you to do is just crazy.
Yep. It's one of those video game levels where like each time you make it past the thing you were stuck on, you die immediately to the next thing, and then you have to just like slowly work your way up till you can beat it.
I had like an ascendant moment where, as I told you, the goddamn forks, for some reason I could not like maintain control of my own body long enough to not fling myself into a pit and die. On this section where you have to just jump between forks.
Yeah, you have to fling yourself between forks like across a lava field.
Mm-hmm. And it was doubly bad because like if you get to the second fork and then fall in the lava, there's no recovery.
No.
Like you just die. Because if you fall, you like start bouncing, you can't throw the hat to recapture a fork, so you just bounce until you're dead, and then you start back at the fucking Goombas. But after I got through that, I just kind of pushed through and managed to get the rest of it without losing. But man, oh man, was that was the difficult challenge, I think, that people were looking for.
Yeah, this has been like a classic Mario thing for like the past several games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they've had just like this super hard end level.
Yeah, 3D World was the last one that not 3D World, but 3D Land was the first one that I played that had this. Or at least that I got to it. So it's kind of a new concept for me.
Yeah, and the one of the very last things you have to do is like there's just like these swinging pendulums that you have to like use the sparrow beak to like jump between.
Right.
That was oddly stressful to me. Like I don't know why. Like it's not that hard at all, but like you're just like like you're defusing a bomb while you're doing it. It's just like it's so easy that you feel like you're just gonna like fuck it up.
Oh yeah, there's tons of mechanics like that all over the place in video games. Things where like you have the capacity to screw something up really badly, but it's very easy not to
right
do that.
at the end.
Yeah,
and if you mess it up, you have to go all the way back.
Yeah, I'm sure like one continuous go through from the beginning till the very end of it is probably like close to 10 minutes.
It's long.
Yeah, and that is
and
a
it
long
uses
time.
all of the transformations in the level.
Well, all of the like primary
Oh
ones.
yeah, not all of them.
Yeah, like
Most
at no
of
point
them.
do you get like it become a taxi cab and like drive somewhere.
Yeah.
gotta do some sick ramps. Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty insane. But you were talking about how if you had done the festival without knowing anything about it, you may have like teared up a bit. Mm-hmm. This thing basically made me feel emotional in two ways.
One, at the end?
Yeah, was immense frustration at the fireball part because I'm just shitty with those.
The fireball part was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and then the end where it's just like there's no ceremony, like it doesn't do a whole thing. You just sort of go through a little quiet area as you spell out "thank you" with an exclamation point. And it's just like you get to the end, you get off, and then you can choose to throw your hat on a scarecrow, which will just show you the message "thank you" at the end. And it was just this like little subdued ending bit where I was like that felt more sincere than I would have thought in any other game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was about it. Just
I thought you were going to talk about the part where you jump up the skyscraper.
oh, and Cappy talks to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was cool, but like no amount of character interaction in a Mario game.
Well, it's not really about the character interaction. I took it more as like he was speaking to me,
right?
Like the player.
It felt good to walk a mile on your head.
Mm-hmm. Like, because you come out of that challenge and you're back out on the moon and you go up to a skyscraper and you turn into a frog. So frog physics on the moon. You jump ludicrously high in the air.
Right.
And you go up it And Cappy talks to you, and it's all sentimental, and then you climb all the way to the top, and then
You get a multi-moon.
Of
course you do. But no, I don't know. Having Cappy talk to Mario, which is talking to you, was a nice touch, and I think that probably did it for a lot of people. But for some reason, just the fact that there is no artifice that could possibly be put over a thank you message out in the middle of space, where you're just obviously the developers of the game were like, here's just a thanks for playing our game. I was just like, this is just great. Because Mario game developers aren't striking out to make this is the next big thing. It's no, it's already the big thing. Yep. It's a Mario game.
And there's also the fact that I think Nintendo has always been bothered that the 3D Mario games don't sell as well as the 2D ones.
Right.
Which is why, Mario's had weird growing pains in the last 10 years, where they tried to merge 2D and 3D and just made everybody mad.
I really liked those games.
I like 3D World as well, but, when they announced that, everyone was like, why isn't this just a 3D Mario game?
Right.
But, and I think, that feels really sincere, because they're and everyone who plays this and makes it to the end, they're really grateful for it. That people actually played the whole thing.
In before everyone goes Nintendo fanboys, they're still a corporation. They're greedy. They want your money. Oops. So they got us. I had a good time though.
So if that's unique, I want your money.
Right,
That's universal.
That's true. Remember a couple episodes ago, I was put $5 in an envelope, send it to us? Still do that. I'm greedy. Do we have final thoughts? JJ, of course, is the one I'm most interested in hearing final thoughts from.
I'm curious why. But, as I already stated ages ago now, probably my favorite 3D platformer ever, polished to a diamond sheen, overcame a lot of skepticism I had over the theming and tone initially, and I kind of can't believe how much different stuff they managed to shove into this package. This game just seemingly seems to never run out of things to do, which is not something I associate with 3D platformers normally. I'm super happy that I played it, super happy that you guys let me borrow it, so I didn't have to have a huge buy-in up front and be real nervous about it.
See? Greedy,
exactly. And I'm skeptical that things can get much better than this in the 3D platformer space for me.
My final thoughts are as you would expect. I loved this game. It's the follow-up to Mario 64 I've wanted since I was 7. I just am slightly disappointed that I watched the trailer before I played it. But that's not the game's fault.
Yeah.
And any problems I have are just nitpicks, really. So.
And self-evident at this point. I don't know. This is a Nintendo-designed 3D platformer in 2017. And I think that despite what people either are saying, have said, or will eventually say about this game in reviews and video essays and podcasts and all that shit, this is, as you put it, this is about as good as a 3D platformer gets.
For now, anyway.
Yeah, at a holistic standpoint.
Until the Oculus Rift comes out and changes everything. No, I mean really the 2.0 one
when it comes out,
when it takes control of everything, and we're all only playing video games in Oculus Rifts.
Right, it will take over the world, and we'll be playing video games even when we think we're just asleep.
Mm-hmm. You never think you're asleep. Shower thoughts.
What I mean to say is, from a holistic standpoint, this game pretty much hits all of the major things the 3D platformer is supposed to do, and hits them with with the level of polish that you expect from literally the biggest video game franchise of all time, and for good reason. So I don't know. It just makes me. It makes me glad that the Switch did as well as it has, because it makes something like this more possible in the future. Mm-hmm. And 2017 has been pretty good to us as far as AAA games go. In like coming after a time when I thought AAA games were just going to be bad forever.
Yeah.
So let's hope that it keeps up.
Yeah, I think it's good for the whole industry if Nintendo's like more popular again. Because like you have to imagine like the success of a game like this. Like no one else is making things like this.
That's true.
So it might make other AAA developers consider doing other things.
Yeah, no AAA developers are making things like this.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I meant.
Hat in Time almost like coincided with Mario Odyssey.
Yeah,
really,
unfortunately for that game.
Yeah.
'Cause I really wanted to play that, and probably won't until like next year or something. Because Mario Odyssey scratched that itch so
it's
good.
here.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd also think that this game kind of proves that 3D platformers can still be relevant.
Yeah, it's not as dead as we once thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to NOCLIP this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, we're going to be talking about The Cat Lady. We're getting into the winter doldrums of the year, so we're going to talk about a game that is ostensibly about depression. Until that time, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is at noclippodcast.com. You listen to some of our old episodes while you're there. They're pretty fucking good. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Recommend us on Overcast. Just like maybe tell a guy.
Give us your money, your
Leave
time,
a comment, write
your
a
life.
review, whatever.
All the good shit.
Imbue us into what you are. Make us a part of you.
Like put a hat.
Yeah,
let
throw
us
a hat at
a NOCLIP branded ball cap. Throw it on someone's head, and then be like, "Why? I hear these 3 dudes talking." And somebody help!
It turns out the hat was just headphones, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah, all headphones are really ours.
Anyway, thanks.
I really hope it's not rain, and that's just like a man with like a bunch of fingers.
Just
Tapping
tapping on the
just
window.
tapping away.
That would be way better.
A polydactyl man wrapping his fingers on the window.